Great. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. It's very exciting for me today. This is really the first time that we are presenting Lavita to the broad audience, specifically the Theta community. So super exciting for us. I personally have been involved with Theta, like I mentioned, since 2017. So known a lot of people, but it really feels different now that we are as part of Lavita, which I'll talk about more, and hopefully you guys have had the chance to also look at it before to be able to contribute to Theta now that the ecosystem is growing much and much bigger. So today we have this presentation, which will talk about Lavita platform. We'll have a little bit of demo, some announcements we'll make. And then tomorrow, we also have a little more technical presentation. So our AI lead, who's here tomorrow, Pedram, will be presenting kind of Lavita AI efforts, specifically related to Lavita Assist, which is a product we recently released. So I encourage you to attend that as well tomorrow for a little more technical deep dive into what Lavita is doing. So Lavita, of course, we have talked about healthcare and how important healthcare is. It's the biggest sector of GDP in many countries. Of course, there are different systems of how healthcare is managed. In US, it's very fragmented, and that historically has led to being very complicated for users and individuals to navigate it. It's specifically related to how they own and disseminate and share and keep their health data private. Lavita is really a powerful, in our view, effort to bring that together with really the latest advancements in AI, data privacy, and of course, empowering individuals for the data ownership. So there has been some advancements and improvements in regulation in US particularly, and other jurisdictions as well, that empowers individuals. So this is related to digitization of health records, electronic health record companies being obliged to actually allow users to access their data. And those regulations has become very, very important as companies like Lavita is taking off the ground. But in addition to that, there are two additional really technologies that enable this and this kind of why now question. So the advancements that we have seen specifically in large language model, natural language processing are really key to what Lavita is doing and why this is the right time for a company like us. So as mentioned, Pedram will talk about the specifics of what Lavita AI project is tomorrow in a little more technical detail. But we really see an opportunity where an AI assist can come in and help individuals in an unprecedented way, how they can manage, share, and use their health data in ways that hasn't been used before. But in addition to that, of course, data privacy is super, super important, as always has been. There has been uncountable instances of data privacy, data breaches, data privacy issues, not in just health data, in retail data, financial data, which I'm sure many of them you're aware of. And there are technologies that now we're using related to privacy-preserving computation. So trusted execution environment, homomorphic encryption, multi-party computation, differential privacy. These are some of the technologies that are now coming to a stage that they are scalable and can be used for a broader audience. So the convolution and the confluence of all these three trends has allowed us to now bring Lavita to where it is today and hopefully to a much bigger impact in the future. And we're very grateful for your time today. Lavita at the core is really going to be a decentralized health marketplace. So what does that mean? That means that we want health data to empower additional future innovation in healthcare. That's something that's actually present in a lot of other industries where data is actually the catalyst of innovation. If you look at financial institutions, they of course in retail. A lot of innovation that's taking place is because usually those players that are, the kind of the incumbent companies have access to a lot of data and are able to analyze that in a positive way and bring innovation that way. Healthcare usually hasn't been like that. Healthcare innovation has been driven by, think about like clinical trials or small observations. This is where you have studies that are done with, maybe thousands of objects. This is initially, of course, a few in phase 1 clinical trials, phase 2. By the time they get to phase 3, you have, thousands of objects, people that are taking some drugs or some observations. But usually those are the standard of how you actually bring innovation to healthcare. So what has been very hard for healthcare innovation to take place is that how can safely and by preserving the privacy of individuals be able to innovate using the data that comes from the masses. And that's really going to enable a next generation of innovation that can take place. When you think about AI, a lot of the innovation that's happened is because the data is available. So companies like OpenAI, they are essentially using all the data that they can find on the web to train their models. And that's why technologies that they're bringing is really a next level of innovation and the magic that it takes place. So that's going to be a very core component of Lavita, to be able to allow for data contribution and data mining in a safe and privacy-preserving manner to allow the next generation of innovation. Connecting data contributors and data miners so that there is, of course, financial incentive on both sides, and then ultimately connecting that to the health providers such that those innovations can actually make an impact in real life. And Lavita, we're working to make an impact on that. Now, as a marketplace, of course, this is something that I'm sure a lot of blockchain enthusiasts are familiar with. So there's going to be a tokenomics that actually enables all of these interactions. So data miners, they have their data that they decide if they want to share or if they don't want to share, which data they want to share, if they share is only shared privately and with privacy-preserving technologies. And in doing such, be able to earn tokens. And those tokens, of course, where do they come from? They come from data miners that they want to conduct studies, that they want to study some specific cohort, for example, of individuals, of patients, for some research or some biomedical application. And then those tokens not only comes to data miners, but also be distributed to all the ecosystem participants. So this includes nodes that are helping with data storage, nodes that are helping with data computation, specifically with SGX nodes. And all of those will be, of course, part of the Lavita tokenomics. So privacy-preserving marketplace, AI-first applications on top of this, and of course, all of this based on secure storage and computing. Now, maybe I take a few moments to talk about the team as well. Again, this is the first time that actually Lavita is talking publicly in a forum like, fantastic forum like this. I'll talk about myself a little bit, but I want to give a shout out to Pedram. So he's our AI lead. He has a PhD in computer science from George Washington University. And he actually will be doing a very interesting presentation tomorrow about community-owned large language models. It's a little more technical than today's presentation, but it's actually going to have a deep dive, some live demos of how actually we're using technologies and how specifically we are engaging community to contribute to these large language models and make it better. So I encourage you to attend that tomorrow at 1:30. Feng, in the middle, is actually our privacy computing lead. So he has extensively published on privacy preserving computation technologies, and that's his expertise. Ed is running our backend. We talk about the platform today. We have a demo that we'll show you, announce it. So a lot of it is based on his work we're doing. Hayang is our front-end lead. Malaki is also helping on the AI side, and Reza has been helping us a lot on the genomic computation side. I want to talk a little bit about, not just about my background, but actually how we come together about Lavita. So I myself, back in 2016, I started my work with a venture capital company, earliest stage venture investment. I really had no idea in the beginning what I'm doing. All I knew that I wanted to talk to interesting people, insightful people, and people that want to change the world. Ironically, one of the people that I got to know early on was Mitch. That was back in 2017. But there were a lot of companies actually at that time that, of course, in healthcare and biotechnology and these related areas that were, of course, very exciting. When you talk to those entrepreneurs, you understand what are the areas that innovation that takes place. You know, a lot of people that are taking kind of high risk, high reward, that the startup effort. So during that time, I remember 2015 was when deep learning was really taking off. So a lot of those technologies that came from and then allowed these kind of, you know, the cat versus dog thing, right? You know, from ImageNet, from Stanford University. And of course, then all of the excitement was related to healthcare. How can we use that? So a lot of companies, a lot of startups emerged that use AI-enabled, specifically deep learning technologies to use in digital health. specifically, for example, for medical imaging modalities, like pathology, like MRI, like ultrasound, like CT scan. So a lot of the companies that I was fortunate enough to early on get involved in, these digital health AI platforms, were companies that are applying AI for these kind of healthcare technologies. But of course, at that time, that was kind of the only technology. So there wasn't that much, so much about data privacy other than just HIPAA regulation, or so much about privacy-preserving computation. Then some other companies came along, and we actually work with some company closely that they're working on privacy-preserving computation. So they were working on homomorphic encryption and multi-party computation to allow some of these healthcare applications with data privacy to be enabled. But still was very hard because the regulations wasn't there. So this is still back in 2016. In addition to that, we also got involved with a lot of biotech companies. So a lot of companies that are actually bringing new drugs, developing new treatments to improve the life of patients. So a company you can see, for example, in gene and RNA therapy, these are the companies that are using CRISPR technology to actually edit the mutated genes for patients that are suffering from diseases caused by those mutated genes. Companies that are in cancer immunotherapy that are, again, also using body's own immune system and modifying it so it can fight cancer. And we got to work with a lot of those companies as investors, and what we learned was usually a lot of the times the bottleneck for those companies was finding the right patients and finding enough of those right patients that they want to help to improve their lives. Why? Because, for example, they could help maybe a few people, but when they go to a larger phase 3 clinical studies, some of those fail because they didn't anticipate what they observe in the broader population. So that kind of data availability and being able to have that larger view of who are the potential patients was an important bottleneck for a lot of these companies. In addition to that, there were a lot of companies that are using AI at that time and to this day, of course, for drug discovery. Again, drug discovery, you can kind of see those 4 companies in the middle. These are specific ones that I had the fortune to work with, are dealing with a lot of data. These are mostly cellular data, biochemical data, data that is generated from animal tests, things like that. And they're going through trove of those data to be able to find new drug candidates, new cellular targets, et cetera, to develop new drugs. And needless to say, AI will come into play for that when you have a lot of data. So all that to say, we got to learn a lot about healthcare over time and be able to observe what are the challenges these healthcare companies, bio companies are facing. What are the technologies they need to use? What are the technologies they need more of? And then how that brought us to Lavita. So we saw that there is a need for a company like Lavita that brings privacy-preserving computation, that brings individual ownership and empowerment of individuals to own their data and control their data, and then ultimately a lot of AI, advanced AI, to be able to harness that. And that's where the Lavita comes from, at the culmination of really 6-7 years of experience with a lot of these healthcare companies. So I'll talk a little bit about the advisory board that we have. We are very fortunate. So we have announced our scientific advisory board, and there are a few that we haven't announced yet, but we will soon. We're working with a lot of scholars that are really at the intersection of AI, healthcare, and data privacy. So Professor T. Miller from Harvard University, he's an expert in AI and NAP for biomedical and clinical applications. Professor Hassanpour from Dartmouth University, we're working on some very exciting stuff with them, we'll soon announce. And he's also founder and director of Dartmouth Center for Precision Health and AI. Professor Xiao Wang from Indiana University, he's actually been the recipient of the largest ever NSF grant for use of data privacy in healthcare. And they have a center that's working on that, and we are very fortunate to have them as an advisor related to data privacy. Professor Xiao Wang, also from Indiana University, on that very same center. Professor Avestimer, so he's from University of Southern California, and his expertise in federated learning. So he has a company called FedML, maybe some of the audience know. And federated learning is one of the key technologies that allows for data sharing in a privacy-preserving and safe way. And Professor Chu from KAIST University in Korea, that's also expert in AI applications in healthcare, specifically computer vision in medical imaging. And it's been really our first advisors overseas because we really see Lavita as a global endeavor, not just for US. So with that kind of an intro, let me talk a little bit more about actually what Lavita does. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at it before, but this is also a good first intro if you haven't. So Lavita, I talked about a little bit what the mission is, enabling individuals to own and share their data. And of course be compensated and have the financial motivation like that. And then data miners be able to safely access those data. And then in terms of the technologies and specifically key components that allow for that, there are these components that our team have been working actively on for the last 18 months. And then individually our team before that, that's where expertise is. Of course, decentralized blockchain, that's really the core. The whole Lavita platform is based on Web3 architecture. And this is, of course, where being on a Theta meta chain is super powerful. So today we have this partner, Theta meta chain, that we can rely on and then rely on the security of the network to be able to get some company like Lavita off the ground, something that even maybe 3 years ago was not conceivable. I talked about secure data storage and secure computing a little bit. These are literally core to what Lavita is doing, and it's going to be a very differentiating factor for us as we grow. AI-powered data research, this is fantastic. I again encourage you to look at the presentation tomorrow. It's almost like magical what now we can do with large language models with healthcare data. We'll talk about one of the products we recently released, but ultimately it comes about that data without proper, of course, AI and processing is still not useful. So be able to use that AI-powered research is going to enable innovation in the next level for healthcare. And of course, all of this will be based on secure data, key management system that allows individuals to control their data, own their data, if they want to share their data, and if so, do it in such a manner that's privacy preserving, all encrypted, and of course, at the end of the day, also be financially compensated. All sitting on top of Theta subchain and smart contract. I encourage you to look at our white paper and some of the blog posts on the Medium that we have published at how actually we are connecting to Theta Edge Network, Theta Meta Chain. We are already having jobs done that are, of course, by Theta Edge nodes. Today we're announcing some of this stuff related to, of course, again, Theta Edge Network. And at the end of the day, it's been a fantastic journey for us to be able to get this off the ground with Theta and with great audience like yourself. So we're really excited that Theta, of course, its core is entertainment and video, but really this is a place, because at the end of the day, data and it's all zeros and ones. And then how you can use these advanced technologies to harness those is powerful, and we really find a good partner with working with Theta Metachain. So today we'll talk about a little bit actually how users will use Lavita platform. So we'll have a little demo that we'll get to it. But at the end of the day, think about how other applications have emerged. So, for example, if you want to stay in touch with the friends, of course, nowadays, either through social platforms, that either one that you use, as simple as, taking your mobile out, kind of checking what's been the latest. If you want to share something with somebody, you decide to share it. Now, of course, there are all the challenges with, kind of advertisement and things like that. You've probably heard that Facebook in Europe decided to pause advertisement for people under 18 years old and really just rely on users themselves. If they want to use it, they can, pay for it a little bit. And if they don't want to share their information because of all the regulation in Europe, they don't have to. But all that to say that really is meant to be a mobile-first and AI-first experience. So as easy as it is today that you take your smartphone and then, chat with your friends and share some data, it's supposed to be like that. That you want Lavita be a platform that allows for users to safely and securely have their data. They can view it, and they can, for their own information, view their data all the time. And then when they decide to, if you go to a doctor, you go to a hospital, you interact with some biotech researchers, and they realize, hey, maybe my data would be useful, and I want to contribute because of personal reasons or because of financial reasons, as easy as sharing something on Instagram or Facebook, you do that privately on Lavita with people that you want. And of course, doing so allowing you to earn Lavita tokens. And that experience is something that doesn't exist today. If you want to participate in a health study for good reason, even without the financial reasons, it's extremely hard to find them, to find which are the ones that are good, to find which are the ones that are best fit for kind of the health data that you can contribute, and how, even if after knowing about them, how you actually connect with them, with people that are running those studies, with people that are sponsoring those, et cetera, et cetera. So that platform doesn't exist today, and that's the experience that we want to bring for individuals and users, and Lavita will allow that. We'll have many applications on Lavita platform. So again, we'll talk about some of them today. We already have some of them on the website, some of the demos, things like clinical trials matching, things like secure genomic comparison, ancestry profiling. And some of these, of course, today even exist in, kind of in a siloed, different type of companies, but we really want to bring everything into a platform that empowers users and individuals. So 2 days ago, I think, or depending on the time zone, we announced assist.lavita.ai. So this is our latest release. It is a medical AI assistant. So if you go to this website, that really allows individuals, probably you have had experience with some of these large language models and OpenAI, ChatGPT, et cetera, to have a personal assistant for their medical questions. What we're building is based on open source model. Again, tomorrow's presentation, Pedram will talk in more technical details. And we want to, and we are rolling out how individuals, both non-expert and expert medical experts, can actually participate to improve the performance of these medical AI assistant through essentially human feedback. And all of this will allow these components that you can see here. So question and answering, classification, natural language generation, relation, classification, abstraction, inference. All these technologies, of course, are core to be able to allow users to use this medical AI assist safely and securely, and also be able to participate in improving it. So what we announced yesterday is a community-owned large language model, which we call it Lavita Assist, which users will own. It's an open source model, be able to participate to improve it, and be able to use it for free to answer their medical questions. So today, if you go to assist.lavita.ai, you see there's a medical AI assist sitting there that's helping, that's waiting to help. Now we're just getting started, so big disclaimer is that, of course, it cannot be relied on as a medical professional, obviously, for anything medical related. All professional advice should be sought, but it's really where we're starting, and then we're improving, specifically with participation of the community itself, to be able to improve this over time, and of course have it be something that's owned by the community, as opposed to some big tech. So Pedram will talk more about this tomorrow. Now, the second part that I want to talk about today, platform, which I'll talk about a little bit about data miners, data contributors, how they connect with each other. That is also, at the end of the day, there are a lot of AI components that come to enabling it. So we use data. These are both public data, and data comes out from data contributors. And then we're going to have an AI and NLP engine that allows for data miners. This can be researchers, health providers, and patients themselves to be able to plug in to Lavita AI engine and then be able to securely harness that data and allow for the users to participate in these privacy-preserving health studies. So today I'm proud to show a little bit of demo of platform.lavita AI. So this will soon be available early next year on Lavita platform, and where users will be able to participate and earn Lavita tokens, participate in health studies, and make a difference in the healthcare innovation. So with that, let me go to the demo, and hopefully we have the streaming. Let's see.
Introducing Lavita platform, which will be soon available through Lavita homepage at www.platform.lavita.ai. Users can easily sign up for the platform using their email address. After the initial sign-up, Lavita platform will be the unique gateway for users to access Lavita ecosystem as data contributors or data miners. Once logged in, the users access My Wallet, which shows their balances of T-Fuel and Lavita tokens. After logging in for the first time, users will be able to connect their Lavita platform account to their MetaMask wallet through a simple and intuitive interface. My Data section of the site is where users can access all their health data that is securely stored on the platform. This includes genetic data, electronic health records data obtained from providers or EHR companies, medical image data, medical statistical data, and AI training models for data miners. All types of health data is available to users for easy viewing and summarization. By unifying access to health data, Lavita platform empowers individuals to truly own and take control of their health data for the first time. Lavita platform is designed from the ground up, based on decentralized Web3 architecture and privacy-preserving technologies, which allows users to securely share and monetize their health data only if they want and only when they want. Lavita platform's integration with EHR vendors makes accessing health record data seamless and easy for users. Users have the choice to opt in as data contributors, where they will receive notifications in future to participate in health studies on Lavita platform and receive additional Lavita tokens. Users also can choose to opt out from data contribution, in which case they will use Lavita platform only for accessing and viewing their own health data. In either case, users will receive Lavita tokens just for using Lavita platform. Authorization will be directly through an EHR portal such as MyChart from Epic, where users may have an account through their provider. Lavita is continually adding integration with all popular EHR vendors. Once authorized through EHR portal, users' data is securely retrieved, encrypted, and stored on Lavita's secure and decentralized data storage, where it can be only accessed by the user herself via the private key management system. Upon completion of the process, users receive Lavita token rewards for connecting their EHR data. If users have opted in for data contribution, they will continue receiving additional Lavita rewards in future by participating in health studies on Lavita platform. Users easily access their EHR data on the platform to view information such as medical observations and lab results. As well as medication orders, diagnostics from physicians, and medical procedures. The updated balance of Lavita tokens after receiving rewards of EHR data is viewed through the My Wallet section by connecting to user's MetaMask wallet. My Research section is where users can run AI and machine learning models on health data. Lavita Research Platform is equipped with powerful machine learning and AI tools such as image segmentation for various medical image modalities. Lavita will continually add AI workflows to this section to empower data miners. In the first release of the platform, users will be able to use their own health and medical data. In future releases, verified data miners can tap into the Lavita marketplace, where they pay to run health studies using data available from data contributors. Lavita's advanced encryption and privacy-preserving technologies will ensure that data miners cannot access any user's data directly, but rather be able to conduct studies only with encrypted data and only view aggregated results that ensures privacy of data contributors. Data miners can access all their research in one place, where they will pay using Lavita tokens to access their studies. The payments from data miners will flow to data contributors that participate in health studies on Lavita platform. We hope you enjoyed this short demo. We look forward to see you soon on Lavita platform.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This was a great, of course, presentation to have with this amazing audience. Yeah, I think we have time for some Q&A. I don't know what is the, I think should work, right? Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, obviously, Epic is a privately owned company, and you're accessing MyChart. I think they have another program called Everywhere Share or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how much control do they have? You say it's decentralized, but it seemed like it was going through a centralized body, right?
Yeah.
And they have access to the data, it would seem like, through their MyChart, or I don't know. Explain it, if you would.
Right. So depending on your health provider, you may already have an account with MyChart if they're using Epic, or if they're using another healthcare, your healthcare provider using another EHR vendor. By regulation, actually now EHR vendors are now obligated to allow users to access their data. So users should be are able to actually contact, for example, your health providers, or contact Epic or other EHR companies that you have used their system, or your provider have used their system to access your data. Now, the challenge with that is usually how you can access it and retrieve your data in a private way and in a way that's usable in a very efficient way in the future for users. And that's where Lavita comes in. So the interface that you saw with Epic, which is actually live, so actually when we do this demo, it goes live to that Epic portal. It takes what is called through an OAuth, which is a secure authentication platform, for users to authenticate that there are Epic users, and then for Lavita to be able securely retrieve those data and encrypt it. So maybe a technical or a kind of a comparison is sometimes when you log into a website, you can use your Google account and then Google authenticate. So kind of something similar to that. Now, Epic, if they are already the EHR that your provider use, they already have your data, right? So they already have access to the data. So you're not adding any new data to the Epic EHR. If you're using multiple EHR providers because you have different health providers and you log into different ones to get their data to Lavita, this is a one-way door. So there won't be any data going from Lavita to those providers. The data will remain always secure, encrypted, and only accessed by the Lavita users themselves through the secure key management system.
But it seems to me they're working against themselves, right? Because they already have the data on most people.
Precisely.
People walking around this country, they have most of the data on everybody.
Yeah.
So, they're investing. How much of a say do they have in the operation of Lavita?
None. So this is actually where regulation has come in. So regulation, has kicked in the last couple of years. Again, kind of the why now question for Lavita, right? Why this couldn't have been done. And we talked about some of the technology component of it, but regulation also has been a very important part. That couple of years ago, this was not possible, but now by regulation, EHR providers are obligated to provide the data to the users, verified users, without any financial compensation, without asking for any participation or equity or anything. Yes, sure. Oh, the box is over there.
Sir, I have the box because I'm asking the questions here. Ali, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Blaze, and I've been really excited about everything Lavita. So seeing that demo has really hyped me up even more. But I had a question on your original white paper, the original version. You mentioned using Intel SGX technology for the secure computation via like the edge nodes. And later on, I believe that language was revised. Do you still plan to use Intel SGX technology with the Intel cores that work with that? And if so, is it only going to be like server-based, where you're talking about server infrastructure, or will it also be accessible to end users like me that run an edge node with an Intel SGX-enabled CPU?
Very good question, and thank you for your enthusiasm and support of Lavita. Yes, so Intel SGX will be used. So I'll talk about kind of privacy-preserving technologies, and there are multitude of those. Some of them are hardware-based, some of them are software-based, and some are the combination. So the hardware-based solution, which generally called Trusted Execution Environment, Intel SGX, but also AMD has one. So, and what currently we have is that we have actually these SGX servers that then allow for these encrypted data computation to take place in these trusted hardware environment. It would be possible for for Lavita community to participate in those, because they can, for example, by pooling resources together, have a data server or have a SGX server somewhere, or provision a node on a cloud. So Azure, Google, all these provide these secure nodes. So that's one way. But there are also software-based solutions for privacy preserving. These are specifically multi-party computation, differential privacy, and homomorphic encryption. So not now, but in the future, we'll have actually software-only base that also will be able to just run on simple CPUs or GPUs to run those software-only privacy-preserving task loads that then allows for individual users, if they didn't want to have a hardware kind of a node or provision somewhere, to be able to use those solutions. So that's also on their roadmap in the future.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're not moving away from SGX, you're just adding on more, and
Correct,
SGX
yes.
will be one part of many solutions.
Exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. Can you speak to the roadmap for the next 18 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if actually possible to bring up Lavita website. And there's a roadmap that we recently also published a blog post and kind of put the latest roadmap there. So if you go to lavita.ai, and there's a tab for roadmap. So as that being brought up, so we started Lavita development about 18 months ago, starting with just the, the white paper. So far what we have, okay, great. I don't know if you can possible to zoom in a little bit if it's harder to read. Wonderful. So, of course, earlier this year we had, the published paper, the token generation event. We have our governance with Theta meta chain. In the second half of this year, of course, we started the staking governance. We issued AI training jobs on Theta Edge nodes, and just this week we released the medical AI assist. This is actually something we are super excited about because immediately will have impact on healthcare innovation. So again, I encourage for you to attend tomorrow's presentation by Pedram, which will go into technical details of how individuals can participate to improve and advance this community-owned large language models that's behind medical AI assist. And by the way, you can just go to the website and check it out right yourself. You can play with it. For next year, what actually we're working on, Lavita platform V1 launch, what you just saw the demo of, which is an actual demo, so not a kind of a recorded demo, but an actual demo of all those components, including EHR integration, et cetera. And what we call healthcare ID system, which will be part of the release next year. So healthcare ID system, as you can imagine, is for health data, it's also very important to have authenticity of the data. So because there is financial incentive, of course, it's paramount that we make sure that that data is authenticated, it's actual data, et cetera. So that's where the health ID system kind of comes in. And primarily is using, again, kind of authentication that we can say, hey, this individual has an account with an EHR provider, and also providing data if they're uploading other type of data, for example, medical image data, et cetera, that these are unique data that allows for that healthcare ID system that then, of course, user will be used to access Lavita platform. That's part of the first release. We talked about kind of secure data storage with Theta Edge Store. So as you know, Theta also itself has a roadmap for its technology for computation and storage platform, so this is related to that. And then finally, we have the decentralized secure computing. And the word hybrid there is key. So this goes back to the previous question, that how we can use existing solutions such as Trusted Execution Environment, Intel SGX, AMD, et cetera, on the cloud, so by provisioning a node on Azure or having a server by pooled resources. That plus software-based technologies that can be used for privacy-preserving computation, so kind of giving that hybrid cloud, both on-prem that people can use, and on the cloud in additional scopes, also to software solutions. Later next year, in 2024, scrolling down a little bit, so we have more of, we showed a little bit in the demo, kind of these AI-powered data validation and research tools on the platform. So you saw image segmentation, you saw the logistic regression. We're continually adding those AI workflows to the platform. This is really the goal is for the data miners to, when they come to the platform, to have access to those pre-existing workflows that they can use. So because of our experience and kind of advisory that we have with a lot of biotechnology companies and digital health companies, we have a good understanding, we believe, of what type of AI tools they need. And some of the other, for later next year, clinical patient matching system. That's also something that we initially actually demoed when we debuted a year ago. I think it's a very important part of what Lavita can deliver. Because of, I would say, there are a little more complicated in terms of regulation. It will take some more time to kind of deliver that and release that, but that's also part of our platform. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Very good question. So, of course, regulation is key within healthcare, right? So, highly regulated ecosystem, and for good reason, right? Yeah. So, healthcare data in US, there are clear regulations around how you can store data, how you can disseminate data, a lot of it is under HIPAA regulation, HIPAA, which are you familiar with? Which Lavita, of course, when we're using for example, cloud providers for these SGX nodes, et cetera, is all under that. With specifically related to FDA approvals, so FDAs are specifically required for, for example, digital health solutions that are directly, touching or essentially interacting with users, patients, individuals.
Yeah.
So in the slide that I did about kind of the biotechnology or digital health companies we're involved with, I talked about some companies, for example, Path AI, which since 2015 we've been working with, and they use AI workflows for pathology. So Path AI, when we got to partner with them and invested with them, it was 2 people. It was a Harvard professor who left and became CEO, and his co-founder, he's the CTO of the company. And now it's a company that's more than 500 people working with it and fantastic operation. So they have, and I'm using this as an example to answer your question. So they have 2 primary businesses. So one is that's used for research and one is that's used for clinical applications. So the AI workflows that's used for research, that's usually are kind of sold to pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies. They get access to those AI workflows that Path AI has developed, proprietary AI workflows, and use them for research. For example, if they are developing a new cancer drug and they need to analyze a lot of pathology slides and understand whether the patient, cancer tumor has improved, receded, et cetera, they use those. And those are not subject to FDA because it's for the research, and then ultimately those drugs that come from those research will be subject to FDA. On the other side, as Path AI does, there's a clinical applications where their client is not pharmaceutical companies, but let's say there's a doctor in their office. And then that doctor wants to, see a patient and then decide whether she may or may not have cancer or her cancer has, essentially the prognosis. And then they use Path AI workflow. In that case, because it's used for prognosis by the doctor itself, Path AI needed to get FDA approval, and that's what they did. So that's kind of where the distinction comes in, where the immediate user is the research user or the provider that's using it for some diagnosis or prognosis. Lavita is on the research side. So we're enabling those researchers that are then going to FDA for approvals.
Excellent.
Yes, where the box is going.
Well, actually, I have a second question.
Oh, okay.
So if I, obviously, forgive me, I didn't read your white paper. So Lavita is based upon individual contribution of the data. They individually making a choice to join this Lavita, to give you the medical record. So what is the advantage of individual to participate other than monetize the transaction? So that just is in your slide. What other advantages of, versus like EHR system, Epic, they have huge system, they have patient data. But for individual to decide, so I wanted to participate in Lavita system, what advantages that we have in a way, other than you sharing your own health data with other people to help them to heal some of the illness. Is that correct? Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah. That is the mission for individuals to be able to participate. So like you said, of course, the financial incentive, but much broader than that. So the answer ultimately, I think, is, again, kind of technology coming in to remove the friction and kind of create that seamless experience. Today, again, by regulation, you own your health data. Today, if you want to participate in a research study done by some researcher somewhere in the world that is working on curing some disease or something that you care about, in theory, you can do that. You can go try to gather your information yourself from EHR. You can write them letters or contact them, or through your health providers. If you're working with multiple healthcare providers that may use different EHR providers, that would just make it harder. But still, you can do it. Gather that information and then somehow contact the researcher or the principal investigator that study, say, I want to participate, and then, kind of how are they managing that and then be able. So in theory, all of that is possible, but because there's so much friction, it's very hard for individuals to do that. Imagine how much time is required. And then also on the other side, for those researchers to find the right people that they want to work with. And Lavita, this is where it comes in to make kind of that magic of connecting the two sides together. Of course, with the right technology solution that has the privacy preserving and data encryption all in place, and at the same time also the economics of it to make sense for everybody.
Hi, I've got a question for you. And this may be more of an opinion question or how Lavita might be able to help prevent some nefarious data miners. So I'm going to butcher his name. It's Ivan Noel Harari or whatever his name is from the World Economic Forum. He said that humans are hackable animals now, which is very concerning. And one thing I'm concerned about is nefarious hackers or data miners through the wide body area networks and remote neural monitoring and things like that, hacking into our data. Is there any way to encrypt that, like at the source where the wide body area networks are?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, of course, data privacy and all these attacks that happen. And we've been involved in a lot of companies, especially digital health. It's almost inevitable. As the technology grows, the attacks also get more sophisticated. And there's no, kind of magical solution to it. I mentioned a couple of advisors that actually we have from Indiana University that they've been the recipient of the largest NSF grant for use of data privacy in various sectors, including healthcare and financials. And that's also their expertise, actually, how to kind of anticipate attacks and then prevent them. I think the short answer is there's going to be a lot of known unknowns, which is there are going to be even new kind of type of attacks that could happen that nobody has invented yet. But in our view, that should not prevent kind of innovation from taking place in the first place. So with the advanced technologies that we have today, which ensures that data is only stored in an encrypted format, it's not accessed by anybody, Lavita included itself, unless the user that has the private key allows that. Now still you can say, okay, maybe the user somehow loses their private key or somebody gets a hold of their device and they can do the 2FA, all these things, and then still be able to access it. So there's always those challenges. But what here we see is now we're in a place that actually we can empower users to even be more safe than before. So if you have a MyChart account today, you can simply log into MyChart account online, and presumably you'll see a lot of your healthcare information. And somehow if somebody get a hold of your account username password with your two-factor authentication, they can just do that without even having to notify your provider or yourself. And so there are a lot of those challenges that come in, but we think that actually Lavita is a place by allowing users to be knowledgeable and conscious and aware of their health data to actually be more secure, because if you're not using those systems right now, somebody else might, and you will never be notified. Yeah, so in the transfer of, maybe you're talking also when the data is retrieved from the EHR providers. In the transfer of data, there is a key that's used that secures that channel. So that's for sure. So there is an encryption during that transfer that without that key will not. So if somebody taps into that communication, cannot understand what the data is being communicated.
I'm next. All right. One, I wanted to start off by saying that I'm a big fan of Lavita, so somewhat of a fanboy, but I like the tech that goes into it and what have you. I'm pretty technical myself. So my question is really oversimplification of our medical history data, right, that we produce throughout our lifespan is circumstance or our lifestyle, and then the other part being whatever's passed via hereditary genes, right? So my question is kind of a two-parter. Has Lavita explored opportunities where that correlation is one available to data miners, right? And then the second one is exploring opportunities where one individual can pass that on, or maybe like a family unit made up of individuals, but cohesively they are that family unit, have some genetic material transposed into medical data. Can they collectively say, hey, this is us, right? This is our family, my wife, my husband, my kids. And then fast forwarding, per generation, being able to leave that in your estate, so to speak, but do it via what I call the trons, right? Via the actual network, not passing over keys so that I have to manage multiple wallets, so to speak.
Yeah, very good question. Ultimately, there is value and there is so much, kind of treasure in that, what you said, kind of the family data. We haven't, gotten that far, to be kind of transparent. We haven't gotten that far at how we can enable kind of communities to form within Lavita. Let's say maybe there's a family that wants to kind of have a more closer ties together by, regard to their health data. Maybe there are, as there are today, there are patient groups, right, advocacy groups, et cetera, that for some common cause that they want to have this kind of more close collaboration, connection, and then be able that to, as a collective, as a cohesive unit, be able to transfer that to others or kind of pass it on to the next, pass the baton, pass to the next generation, all of that. It is definitely in our vision. We haven't kind of gotten to it in terms of how it translates into the roadmap and technology, but we think that's actually one of the key, powerful kind of elements of the vision that we want to pursue, to again empower users that want to do something like those to be collectively passing on information or allowing for some of those things that you mentioned to be able to do that.
To me, the exciting thing about this is you've got both pure and applied research going on. Are you considering any kind of NIH or DoD grant funding to prolong or expand your project?
Not directly, no. So we're not, from the get-go want to kind of look at, because there would be, for example, ties, a lot of the projects that participate in, different type of studies like the DoD, there would be specific kind of contingencies and covenants in terms of how you should publish, where to publish, obviously health is a global matter, but then different countries have different regulations and different views. So we don't want, because we want Lavita to really truly be a global, if there's a valuable research that's been conducted in Australia, and then there's a researcher that wants to work with patients in the US. We want to be able to allow that without restrictions that, of course, there are regulations, et cetera, but without technology restrictions that exist. But we have advisors, as mentioned, so we have advisors that are recipients of, various grants, and we are, of course, actively getting their advice on, these are academics and so on that are working in different institutions, we're getting their advice. So. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that question, maybe to broaden a little bit, that's a very good question. Like, how do we bring on, we talk about, of course, individuals as data contributors, but how do we bring on data miners, right? So those institutions, those groups, there are foundations, et cetera, that want to sponsor, want to fund, want to do, et cetera, to actually enable these research that's being done. So that's part of our job, and that's also part of the reason I wanted to mention the network. That we have with kind of these health companies, biotech companies, pharma companies, and the related foundations that work with them to be able to bring them to the platform as data miners. Because it's a platform, it's a chicken and egg, and it's two-sided, so you want to have both sides to be successful and grow, but that's definitely part of the work that we had ahead of us.
Hey, Ali.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you. I have a question. Is any of the information sent, is any of it HIPAA compliant at all from point to point?
Yeah, so wherever the data is stored, for example, today we store data on Azure Cloud using SGX nodes, some of them when we do the computation. Those are all HIPAA compliant.
Is it redundant? So if a site is down, is it redundant? So if a site's down, that there's other parts around the world that's housing that same data?
I believe that's also, yeah, so. But I mean, those are kind of generally part of the contingency for cloud providers, is that?
Sure. And if it's, I'm just trying to understand the whole use case in different areas. Like if a nurse is holding stuff that might be HIPAA compliant and she left the tablet down, does it time out? Do they have like a PIN number to put in to get back in, or someone could just pick up that phone if it's live, they could just jump in? I'm just trying to understand the whole gist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of different situations.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Like, that's an experience that probably many people have. Like you said, everybody has to key in with their card if they want to access the data. You're in a doctor's office. So I want to kind of maybe go back to the question that one of the colleagues asked here, kind of where the regulation comes in. And what Lavita is not doing today, and probably not in the near future, is actually work directly with providers. So we want to work with research. So we don't want to be at a touch point when provider and patients are interacting. Because like you said, that's a very critical touch point where a lot of regulations, a lot of procedures and operating procedures comes in, both in terms of data, safety, et cetera, et cetera. Where we come in is where actually researchers want to conduct, and that's a little more time-stamped or time-boxed because researchers can, access Lavita, verified, authenticated, do their research and then kind of log out, close it, and they go. So there's no direct touch points with individuals or patients.
So I think we have a lot more questions. Will the audience have a chance to perhaps find you after the session?
I'm here throughout today and tomorrow, and I encourage you to find me. And thank you so much for.
Brian's going to come up, but I do want to ask a question. So
sure.
I go by in the community. I go by Dr. Theta, and I'm a primary care physician in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Wake Med system. We have about 15 offices, and together we care for about close to 100,000 patients, all on the Epic system. So I'm blown away by the presentation, by how far along the Lavita platform is already finding itself. I can see why Mitch and Wes were super excited about this partnerships during last year's Thetacon. They didn't tell us the name. They didn't share with us the information, but they were very excited about these partnerships. And of course, Lavita is one of those. So I have like lots of questions, but I'll just do two right now. The first one is, what's the plan for marketing? How are we going to get these patients to learn about Lavita, learn about this opportunity, and volunteer their health data?
Well, thank you so much for your support and enthusiasm. Very excited to know that there are doctors in the audience. That's a key question, right? So how you grow platforms, and kind of putting my investor hat, a little venture capital hat, for a second. I see that the question that a lot of the companies that I've been involved with as an investors have to tackle, right? Kind of this growth hacking, et cetera, et cetera. And there are, kind of the strategies to use that to make sure that people are coming to the platform, staying on, keeping engaged, and also kind of spreading them out, spreading the word. For us, we want to be very cautious. So we want to, again, because there are some aspect of it, so there's the financial incentive, of course. So there is potential that people, there's a financial incentive to come after. And then also, there's always the challenge of how you do this in different geographies and because they have different regulations. So we have kind of a couple of principles. One is that we want to be global from the get-go. So we don't want to grow just in US or grow, somewhere else. So we want to be global. So we are actively actually talking with potential participants. So these are like patient groups. These are advisors that are connected to patient groups or hospitals. We mentioned Asia, one of our advisors. We have more in Singapore and some other geographies. So we want to kind of work with people that are already involved with patient groups and then be able to do this in a global manner. And then in addition to that, what we want to do is to, of course, work with communities that are, I would say, are early adopters. Because healthcare data is very sensitive, and of course for the good reason, so we want to work with kind of communities like Theta, like some of the others, that are essentially early adopters of these kind of technologies. So they want, and also kind of regular patients or individuals that will participate in a very structured study, but all of them now coming to Lavita platform, and then be able to provide data, provide expert feedback, and use those to then improve the Lavita Assist that we released this week. And those type of effort is what exactly we also do for the platform, to kind of with engaging with community, not just kind of doing a kind of blind marketing or something like that, but engaging with community and bringing them to the platform and where they see the value is to be able to organically growth. So our goal is not to just increase the number of DAUs or MAUs. Our goal is to have people, patients, and data miners, researchers that are engaged, and that's kind of our go-to strategy.
Thank you. And question, any thoughts about using the Theta wallet instead of the MetaMask wallet for users to interact with the platform?
Yeah, we have talked about it. It's a possibility. I think for for this specific demo, we wanted to keep it as neutral as possible because this will be later, of course, on the website, and anybody, would be able. And we don't want, for Lavita community to just be Theta community, right? So at the end of the day, even if you're not a blockchain enthusiast, we want you to be able to use Lavita without having that prerequisite. But we'll have, those kind of additions and integrations, of course, specifically to help with Theta specific wallets. Thank you so much.